Hello, everybody. Happy
Saturday
Saturday.
for our weekly live stream and Q&A.
Hi, everybody. We have a special guest, as you can see. Jackie's dad, Neal.
Hi, folks.
Hey, Dad.
And it's nice for Jackie and Neal to get more time together, all of us as a family. And so those of you who've been joining us might know that we usually start out with a quick introduction and then a little bit of news, a little bit of updates, a few updates on what we've got going on, and then we're going to open it up for a Q&A with Neal. So please be ready if you have questions for Neal. He's ready to answer them, right?
I'm ready.
Okay, so we'll do our news and announcements first, but quick introduction. I am Bridget. I am Jackie's incredibly proud mom. We co-founded Transgender School together. It's getting super exciting. We have 2 interviews just this week, a podcast and a radio interview. So we're really excited about how we're gaining momentum, and our group is growing. It's up to almost 500 in the Facebook group. So thank you all of us for following and watching and supporting. And it's happening. We're getting the word out about how to be an ally, how to support transgender people, educating people, having great conversations. And so that's what we're here to do. And I'm Bridget. Jackie, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Jackie, and I'm here with both my parents today to share our experiences and answer any questions you might have to make the experience of coming out and transitioning easier for everyone involved.
Great. You want me?
Yeah, sure. Introduce yourself.
So I'm Neal Thornhill, a very proud father of Jackie and a proud husband of Bridget. And I'm honored to be here and answer your questions.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for being
All right.
here.
So Jackie's going to start with some news. There's been more and more news every week on the transgender front in the world. So tell us, Jackie.
Yeah, so obviously a big week. I will start off by highlighting some of the good news. So President now Biden has nominated Dr. Rachel Levine, who was currently the Secretary of the Pennsylvania Department of Health, and has really been, actually, as far as I'm aware, currently the highest ranking appointed transgender official in any state or federal government agency across the country. So he has nominated her to be the Assistant Secretary of Health. She would be serving under his nominated Secretary of Health, Javier Becerra, who still has to be confirmed. She would be basically the top doctor in that department. She would be advising the Secretary of Health on the health of the American people. It would be an extremely important role, a public-facing role, and is a huge step toward public representation and representation at the highest levels of government for transgender people. So that's an amazing step forward. President Biden also issued an executive order calling on all federal agencies to enforce a U.S. Supreme Court decision that would expand the definition of sex discrimination to include discrimination based on sexual orientation as well as gender identity. This executive order does include language that specifically referenced high school and college sports, saying that the Bostock decision should apply to Title IX, which prohibits discrimination in federally funded schools. Unfortunately, on the other hand, at the same time, the Montana House of Representatives recently introduced 2 bills that would limit access to civil rights for transgender young people. One bill would prohibit doctors from providing transgender youth certain gender-related medical treatment, so hormones, access to surgery, gender-confirming therapy, and other things that are really essential for the well-being of transgender people. Simply would not be accessible for anyone under 18 under this law. Another law would bar transgender students from participating on school sports teams of the gender of which they identify. So it looks like Republicans, now locked out of power at the federal level, are going to look to set up some court battles via state laws like this over the issues of access to healthcare for transgender youth, which we've seen has been a huge issue in the United Kingdom, where unfortunately they have not made the same strides that we have in the US toward widespread cultural acceptance, particularly among liberal culture of transgender people. And unfortunately, given the 6-3 conservative majority on the Supreme Court, it's highly likely that Republicans will get their way on at least one of these issues. So look out for litigation on these issues over the coming years. It's going to be a really crucial few years for determining the civil rights of transgender people for decades to come. And that's our current event for the week.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you so much. And we
You're-
want to, oh,
Oops, sorry,
is
I don't
my,
know if it was just me, but your audio was coming through a little choppy. It might just be my internet though.
how does it sound now? Does it sound, can you hear us?
Let us know in the comments if you can hear us all.
Can you hear us now, Jackie? Uh-oh, Jackie, it looks like you're on mute. Let me check all our settings. Let us know in the comments. Can you hear me? Are we having sound troubles? Jackie, you can't hear us? Let's see here. Quick tech check, everybody.
Sorry, I might be having technical difficulties on my end then, because for some reason I am not hearing you. Let me try to disconnect my.
Okay.
Reconnect.
Oh, so some folks are saying they can hear us. We can hear Bridget and Jackie. Okay. All right. So Jackie, it might be. So while Jackie checks her tech, I will make.
I think I can.
You can hear
Sorry
now.
about that.
Okay, no worries. This is what happens when you're in the live world, right? So everybody understands. Okay, so some quick announcements, and we are checking into the Facebook Live comments. So we're definitely going to be ready in just a few minutes for your questions for Neal. We'll maybe do a couple quick questions for him ourselves maybe to start, and then we'll look into the comments for questions. But our announcements, and these are really important. Those of you, I know those of you who are here are some of our most valued and important supporters. So we just want to make sure everybody knows. And if there's any way that you can spread the word, that our podcast is coming out on February 2nd. Jackie and I have a brand new podcast that's called Transgender School. No surprise, everything is Transgender School. It will be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the podcast apps, February 2nd. So that's very soon. So please look for it. Please share it with friends. Our first episode is all about defining transgender and sharing a little bit of our story. And then a reminder that our first course is available. It is called Transgender Support, How to Be a True Ally. It is for anyone and everyone who wants to support transgender people, whether you're transgender yourself or you're a family member, a loved one, even if you don't know anybody or don't think you know anybody who's transgender, you're welcome to sign up for the course because it's for everyone. And it's a 90-minute course. And they start in February. So please go to transgenderschool.org/ally, ALLY. Easy as that. It's all there. You could sign up for the course and you can share that with anybody you like. We're hoping to see lots of people there. And it's going to be completely private. It's a webinar. So people can just show up and listen. No cameras for participants. It's just going to be me and Jackie sharing all the work that we've been doing all this time to create this course. And so please join us for the course. It's $19.99, great value for a great price. And also more free content. Our YouTube page is live and ready with all the live streams and other videos. We'll be posting more videos there to have lots of free content and valuable information for you. We were guests on a podcast that was released this week.
The groomers here. Okay, take him out real quick.
Okay, Neal's going to
back.
be right back for his part. Our dog groomer is here, so we didn't know when they were coming, and of course they come right now. But it's just bringing the dogs really quick to the groomer. So, so we were on Greg Berard's podcast on living a full life, and it was such a great experience. It was the first time Jackie and I had ever done a podcast together before, and it was just such a rich, meaningful conversation where the questions that Greg asked us allowed us to share with each other and connect and reflect on our experiences in ways that we hadn't really done before. So we hope that you'll listen in. It's advertised all over our pages. We're everywhere. In case you don't know, I don't think there's a single social media platform that we're not on. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and in our Facebook group, on our Facebook page, we've posted all the links to everything. Everything's there. So you can go and see Greg's podcast, or you can just go to Apple Podcast and look for On Living a Full Life. The latest episode is with us. And we will be here every week at 4:00 for our live streams. And we'll be bringing in additional guests and having great conversation and keeping up on all the news. There is so much news coming out on the transgender rights front. So we want to make sure to bring it to you first, or be the ones you can always count on to bring it to you. Anything to add to that, Jackie?
I think that pretty much covers it. And I see we're already starting to get some questions in.
Okay.
But I think we will continue to stall for a moment while Dad brings the
Oh,
dogs out to
so
the
Neal,
groomer.
I have a good idea. Let's talk about your dad, Jackie, while he's not here. Okay. And let people
Great.
know. So he wasn't necessarily like super eager to come, not because he's like 100% supportive of Jackie, but he doesn't do things like this, right? This is Jackie and my thing where we put ourselves out there and we're educating people. And he likes to be kind of behind the scenes. So we're like, you got to come on and share with people. And he's happy to answer any questions, and he will answer totally honestly. He's back. So we already have questions for you, Neal. Perfect timing. So our dogs are now safely with the groomer in the mobile dog grooming, in case any of you were worried about that. Got to make sure that they're taken care of. Okay, so Jackie, what questions do we have for your dad?
I see we have a question from Jean in the comments.
Hang on one sec.
Okay, start over. I just didn't.
Oh, sorry, Dad.
Okay.
So we got a question from Jean. Jean would like to know, they would like to hear you compare and contrast your thoughts at the time when I first came out versus now. So kind of your mindset then, your mindset now. How have your feelings evolved?
Oh, sure. Great question. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. It couldn't be more different. I mean, it was way out of left field that when Jackie came out, wasn't expected, had no clue, and really took me for a loop. And I wasn't prepared. I had a totally different mindset about my daughter at the time, so it really shook me up. Um, and it's actually really interesting to think about how different I am now compared to then. Um, and it was really challenging. I really had to put in the work. And uh, I really am grateful for the support I had from both Jackie, everything she was going through at the time, but also being patient with me, and also with Bridget, because Bridget really helped educate me and support me, and let me work through my process to grow as Neal. Because it was really all about me. I had to grow. It had nothing to do with Jackie or anybody else. Um, and as I learned that and did that, I became who I am now, with how I view everything, and how I support her. And so it's to compare and contrast. It's very different. It took a little while. I wish I could have done it faster. Uh, I know I could do it much faster this time because now I'm prepared. So, but so yeah, I mean, it's just a process. But I think anybody that's willing to put in the effort can get there. It's not an insurmountable task or challenge.
And I don't see any other questions yet, so I'll ask you a question that I have thinking about that. Do you think if you had participated in some kind of course like this or been exposed to something other than just the stereotypical media narrative of if you're trans, you're wearing dresses when you're a little kid and that kind of thing, if you had been exposed to other ideas and other realities and other experiences, you may have responded differently when it came out?
Oh, sure. I think if you came out as gay, my reaction would have been different because there's been so much acceptance and education of that for years and years now, where in the transgender world that hasn't been happening a whole lot, and starting to now. But if I would have had that, if I would have had that background, and I think it would have been a much quicker, easier process for me. Sure.
And then I'll go ahead and lump two questions that we just got.
Although it's always different when it's your daughter, when something happens, it's like, okay, I can be this way and to the public, but when something happens to you personally, I mean, in all regards in life, it's always different when it's personal, but it definitely would have helped. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So we have one question. What was the most challenging part of the process for you? I guess in going from that initial mindset to your mindset today. And then another question, knowing what you know now, if you could give a parent one piece of advice upon first learning that their kid was transgender, what would you say?
I think the most challenging part for me was my role as a father. I thought I was done raising Jackie, and I was very proud of her. I mean, I am now too, but she was off at college, and I thought, okay, I'm done. I did it. Not bad, you know. And then when I realized, you know, that she's transgender, I started to question myself, and did I raise her properly, and would I have raised her differently, um, and as I worked through that, uh, I realized that the way I raised her to be strong and independent, and to take on the world and be confident, was exactly what she needed, and I wouldn't have done it any different. Not that my raising her was perfect. We had our challenges, but I wouldn't have done anything differently. And I had to go through that process to, as a father, um, to be good with what I've done, and then realize that I now have a different role as a father. So I'm now the father of a transgender young woman, and I need to alter how I look at what I do and what I can do to support her. And that part was kind of exciting actually, because I'm not done anymore. I'm still her father, so I get to be there in a different way for her now. That's even more important than before. So I'm happy about that. Um, Advice for a parent who, you know, in the very beginning, um, just sit with it. You don't need to do anything. um, your transgender daughter or son has already been working on this. I think as parents we feel we need to take action and take care of our kids, but the way to do that at that moment is really just to love them and support them and tell them you're there for them. You don't need to do anything. There's nothing that needs to be done. And bite your tongue about advice, because you're not in the right mindset at that time. It's You're flooded with thoughts and emotions that aren't well organized or informed, and it just takes a bit. So just sit with it, and you don't need to do anything except be there for them, and that will help you and them, uh, and your relationship.
Very well said.
Thank you.
And I see another question from Cynthia. This one's starting to get into the weeds a bit more, into some more difficult situations. So, Cynthia is navigating a situation with good friends and would appreciate some advice. Their child is just coming out, but the father is having a hard time accepting the child's correct name and pronouns. When they speak to the father outside of the presence of the child, should they refer to the child with the correct name, or do we defer based on the parent's comfort? They have no contact with the child, just the parents.
Yeah, it's. I think you always refer to them as their name. I mean, that's their name, and I get it. It takes a while for some people, but what helped me was actually practicing it. Was actually doing it, and I think that when somebody starts doing it, especially with outside people, when I started saying, "Oh, my daughter," this and that to people that don't know us, right? Just I say, "Oh, my daughter works for City Hall," and this and that. Um, then it started to become second nature for me. You just have to do it. Um, and no, you don't cater towards the parents' comfort.
Good question and a good answer. Mom,
I
do you have
saw
any
another
thoughts that you want to, or yeah?
Another question from I just want to add one thing. I know this is I want to give Neal the floor the whole time, but just to reiterate, in case any, to reinforce in case anyone hasn't heard, the statistics show that if a person says they're transgender, there's less than 0.5% of a chance that they're ever going to go back and say, well, now I'm not sure. Like if your kid's telling you, or if you know someone whose kid is telling them, please, please, please believe them. Please, please, please encourage parents to believe this, because it is life or death. The suicide rate is at least 40%. I've seen some statistics coming out that it's actually higher, especially for youth. And it's definitely higher for youth whose parents do not use their correct pronoun and name. This is life or death. So please, if they're friends, model using the child's actual name and actual pronouns. Jackie is a woman, is female, always has been. The way we say it, if we talk about it, she was always Jackie from conception. Okay. And she was always she. We talk about, oh, when Jackie was a baby, when Jackie was born, when she this, when she that, like we were wrong. That's the only thing that happened, is we were mistaken about that. So we have to model that for everybody who's out there. Do not challenge, do not question, do not condone or encourage people to challenge. I had friends who were like, even good friends who were like, well, maybe it won't be true and maybe it's wrong. And I know they were trying to help, but now I'm like, oh my gosh, like I wish I was educated to tell them like, that just doesn't happen. That's just not true. That's just not real. So please, please, please take it very seriously. I know it's really, really hard in the beginning, but it's so important. So, I think that there was a really good question. I can't see it now, but Jean, I think, asked Neal, what were your fears? Because we know that when kids, young people, whoever comes out as transgender, there's a lot of fear for parents. I had horrific fear. I was terrified. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. It was so fearful for Jackie's future. So what were your biggest fears, Neal?
Well, my first fear was that was for her own safety. I wanted to make sure she was safe and was not contemplating hurting herself in any way. Um, that was my first and biggest fear. Uh, After that, it was the challenges that she would have, because as a parent, you don't want your kids to suffer. And I feared she was going to suffer. And that has nothing to do with being transgender. I just don't want her to suffer in any way. And I thought this would be really difficult. Um, I was I was wrong about that. I mean, she is an incredibly strong, confident, intelligent woman who has taught me so much about this. Um, and although she's had her ups and downs, she's not living a life that where she's suffering. So I didn't need to fear that. And even if that was the legitimate fear I had, um, being there as her father and supporting her and supporting Bridget with everything she was doing to support Jackie, that is what would help any suffering she might have. So, um, uh, yeah, I mean, I don't fear a whole lot. I think as long as we're taking action and being there and moving forward every day and trying to grow as a person, as I try to learn more and grow as myself and as a father, um, that eliminates a lot of anxiety or fear, because you're actually doing something, you're taking action. If I was to just curl up on the couch and ignore things, I could see how my thoughts would fester and spin, and it would be really negative and not good. But even though I was scared, and even though I didn't know a whole lot, I I went into the game, and I put myself out there and said, okay, what are we gonna do? Even though I didn't know, and that was really helpful, because then that momentum just moves you forward, and good things come from it.
And I want to add to that. I mean, yeah, I want to add to that just that Neal came to our support group, and it's really important to just simply say that, because a lot of I'm
Yeah.
sorry to be whatever sexist, but a lot of dads don't go and won't go. And he came as soon as I joined the support group. He said, yes, I'll go with you to the parent group. And he came and he, I think, learned a lot there.
Oh yeah. The support group was amazing. We're really lucky to live in a town where we have such good resources and a support group like that. And it really felt good to listen to other people's stories and to be educated by the leaders of the group. I encourage anyone who has a loved one that's transgender to go to one of these meetings in their area, and maybe even online now if they have them, because it goes a long way. And then it makes you stronger and more educated to be there for your family members and friends who aren't going there and who aren't exposed to this. So it's kind of like what you were talking about before, Jackie, about um, would I have been different if I had more exposure? I would have. And that's something that the groups can provide to people.
Yeah.
And
I want to,
sorry, go ahead.
let me just address one thing that I see in the comments because it's really important and it relates to something I said that I want to clarify. There's a parent in the comments, thank you so much for saying this, that my child says they're not sure if they're transgender. So I made a very bold, strong statement that if your kid says they're transgender, believe them. If your kid says they're not sure, maybe they're really not sure. That's totally different, okay? If your kid's not sure, because gender is a spectrum. So a young person may be grappling with, am I transgender? Am I non-binary? Am I bigender? Am I agender? I mean, it's a wide spectrum. I'm just beginning to learn about the whole spectrum. So they're, non-binary. So I would say if your child says they're not sure, but they're trying to figure it out, just please, same rules apply or same recommendations apply. Just support them in that journey. Just listen. Just don't we can't make that decision for them. I tried to tell Jackie, no, you're not trans. I mean, now I think that's the most crazy, ridiculous thing I've ever done in my life, right? She is. So if your kid doesn't know, that's not what I was saying when I was saying like a tiny less than half of 1%, go back on what they said. That was relevant to people who do say, yes, I know, I'm sure. That's when they really don't go back. Like if they have done the coming in work is what it's called to really figure it out for themselves, we have got to believe them. But if they're not sure, please get therapy, support group, be supportive, just give them the space to try to figure it out for themselves. So I just want to clarify that.
Well, and make sure, and I would just make sure, because I know we're talking to a lot of different folks out there who may not all be in places as supportive as some big cities where a lot of mental health professionals are going to be supportive. Get help, and get help that is trans affirming. Read reviews for therapists before you send your kid to them. Make sure that you do your research, and don't send your kid to, whether it's a pastor or a therapist, don't send your kid to someone who might not support them, because the percentage of people, the very small percentage of people who do detransition, a lot of them actually cite pressure from parents, from mental health professionals, from religious leaders to detransition and to not transition as the reason that they don't. So make sure that help you provide is supportive. Make sure that you're completely open. If they want to go by they them pronouns one week and then the next week they're going by she her or he him pronouns, that's okay. It's okay for it to be fluid. It's okay for them to not be sure. And it's okay for them to then be sure. If they're not sure for a while and then they decide they are sure, it's really a matter of allowing people to self-determine what's right for them at what point in their life and who they identify as.
Jackie, did you see? I'm not seeing all the comments for some reason. I don't know why, but I probably don't have the right setting. Or do you see anything in the comments that we have missed? I know for a while there were a bunch of questions coming in for Neal for the dad perspective. And we can go a few minutes over. We usually cut off right at the half an hour, but since we have a special guest, are you okay going a few minutes over?
Yes.
I don't see any additional questions that we missed at this point. Dad, was there anything else you wanted to share that you feel like wasn't asked about yet?
No, not really. Just remember, I mean, for me, one of the things that helps me a lot is just to remember there's nothing I need to do right now. It's especially remember, you're not the one that, as a parent, that has to do the hard work. It's your son or daughter. They're going to do the work. Um, Let them, and just be supportive. It's not your job to fix, change, command, do anything for them. It's just support. Um, they're going to work it out. And that's what they need us for, is for support.
Thanks so
Can I
much.
add?
Yeah.
I'll add one thing. We haven't shared everything about our story, and we plan to do that over time. But one thing I do want to share is that when Jackie first came out, um, she was pressured to come out to me through other means that we don't have to go into, by other people in her life. She was forced to come out to me before she was ready. And that breaks my heart now, thinking back on how all of that happened. She should have been given the space to figure that out for herself and to choose to come out to me and to plan that. But once that happened, one thing I think I got right, Jackie, you can tell us, is I asked you if you wanted to tell other people or wait, or if you wanted me to. And you elected, and this is a tip for everyone, that like, if someone comes out to you, just you, do not tell anybody. I mean, that is outing someone is one of the most unethical, inhumane things that anyone can do in any way, shape, or form. So ask the person if it's okay to tell anyone. Even if you think they're fine with it, you have to ask, and ask if they want you, if it's appropriate to tell anyone for them. And Jackie elected for me to tell people, her dad first. And so I was the one who told him. If she had said, I want to tell him and you have to wait a month, I would have had to. And I've talked to other parents who are in tremendous pain and suffering, and I empathize, and I realize how hard that is, because their child has asked them not to tell the co-parent or the ex-spouse or whoever it may be. But if that doesn't feel safe for that child, you must honor that. Not all parents, just because one parent's safe does not mean the other parent is safe. And Jackie wanted me to tell Neal, and so I did that. And I told other people that Jackie gave me permission to tell. And then I waited, and I didn't even tell my best of friends or other family members until Jackie said, okay, now I'm comfortable with you telling this person and this. And it was like a one at a time kind of thing. Is that what you remember, Jackie? And is that what you would advise?
That's a super important point. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah. Never out anybody to anyone, even if it's your spouse, even if it's your ex-spouse, even if it's your co-parent. Never out anybody to anyone, and just always respect their desires about how they'd like to do that. And if you're willing to be an ally in that way, yeah, offer to come out to people for them if that's what they want. Can be really helpful.
Yeah. And I just want to say, I can see the comments coming in, and I thank you all so much for being here. We had a really good turnout today. You brought a lot of extra people, Neal, so thank you for being here, being such a wonderful husband and father. And I hope you'll all check. We're going to take off in a minute, but I hope you'll all read through all of the comments, because we have beautiful oh wait, can we do 2 more minutes, because Riley has such a good question that we'll censor our answer a little bit. But Riley wants to know, did Jackie do anything naughty while she was growing up?
That's a whole other live stream in and of itself.
We'll just do this. We'll just say yes.
Yeah. Short answer, yes.
More we'll have to check in with Jackie about what we're allowed to say. Jackie is a rebel. She is her own person, and she I love it. Now we love it. There were definitely some good battles when Jackie was growing up, and now we love how she's so independent. She's her own person. She makes her own choices. And so, did she do anything naughty? Oh yeah. But now we just, we are so lucky, because Jackie is I think, magna cum laude college graduate. She is a highly successful person in her field, her career, highly regarded. She is a parent's dream, honestly, for a 23-year-old child. Everything she's achieved. She just moved into a new leadership position in the Harvey Milk Democratic Club in San Francisco. She doesn't want us to say all this. She's like, stop, this is embarrassing. But she's a superstar. She's a rock star. She's amazing. So yes, of course, she had her moments. We all had our, battles growing up, but boy, we couldn't be any luckier. And now she's choosing, she doesn't have to go out there and tell people about her experience as a transgender woman. She's choosing to do that to help other people. And I give her so much credit, and so I'm so grateful that she's doing that, because it could save lives. It's going to make a huge difference for people, and she doesn't have to do that. So we are incredibly, incredibly proud. But yes, Riley, the short answer is, oh yeah.
And maybe that'll be the subject of a future live stream. Well,
Sounds good.
thanks so much, everyone, for coming out today.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate you all, and we'll see you next week.
Yes, come back next week, 4 o'clock every week. We'll see you then.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.